Welcome to another edition of A Greener Bluegrass. I'm Mark York with Lexington's Department of Environmental Quality and Public Works. A Greener Bluegrass is a program where we have the opportunity to share with you information about how you can help us improve Lexington's environment. For our first segment today, I'm joined by Vice Mayor Linda Gordon and Ann Garrity to talk about America in Bloom. And I'll start with you, Vice Mayor Gordon. Tell me a little bit about America in Bloom and why is the city involved with America in Bloom?
Okay. Well, America in Bloom is a national program and it's really geared toward recognizing cities for beautification. That's a simple way to look at it. But it's actually a little more complex than that, and the America in Bloom program involves judges coming to your community, and they'll be coming to Lexington, to look at 6 different criteria and to see how we rate in those criteria. And one of the things that had to happen first is that our community did a profile. And a lot of work was put in on that. And I know Ann Garrity will talk about that a little bit, but it's a way to recognize communities for their efforts in beautification.
Now, Ann, I know that America in Bloom is a national program recognizing local communities. So how did Lexington get involved with America in Bloom?
We had a circuitous route to get involved. We didn't go seeking it. It sort of came to us. I'm on the Arboretum Lecture Committee, and we put on 3 lectures a year, gardening lectures. One of our members went on her own to an American Horticultural Society meeting and heard this speaker by the name of Katie Moss Warner, who was a former director of gardening at Disney World for 25 years. She transformed Disney's gardens and rides and venues to a beautiful place that's mosquito-free. She offered to come to your city free of charge and give a lecture about healthy communities through beautification. And since we were seeking speakers, our committee member said, "Oh, I'd like to try to have her come." Well, the clincher was that she offered this trip in a silent auction for the convention participants. We brainstormed and selected 80 community leaders, education, gardening, business, university, community, and invited 80, and 40 accepted our invitation, which was a very good number. We held that at the Good Barn. Katie did the workshop, and what she did was very clever. She divided us into 6 tables, and you got to self-select the table. And these 6 tables represented the criteria for America in Bloom. And she basically took us through an evaluation of Lexington on our own using the standard criteria for judging a city. And these criteria are floral displays, landscaped areas, urban canopy, environmental efforts, cultural heritage, and overall impression. Overall impression used to be called tidiness. It has to do with cleanliness. They decided overall impression was a better title. After that meeting, we asked participants, we surveyed participants, did they think that this was exciting and worthwhile, and should we join America in Bloom? And overwhelmingly the answer was yes.
From a city government standpoint, why should the city government be interested in America in Bloom?
Well, our city is, we're interested in knowing how we stack up, for one thing, against other cities. Although it's not a competition with other cities, it's nice to know where you are, where you stand in some of the civic participation areas. And so this will be a way that we can kind of mark ourselves based on some national experts. These judges who are coming to Lexington are nationally recognized for their expertise in beautification efforts in the areas that Ann mentioned. And it's really good for a city to say, oh, look at what we've got and what we've done, and look at where we can go. It's also about improving our community and finding out where the gaps are that we can make ourselves better.
And Vice Mayor Gorton mentioned judges are coming to Lexington in
Yes.
June. What's going to happen that
Okay.
2-day period?
First of all, let me mention that we submitted the profile on May 1st to the American Bloom Board of Directors. At that point, we were contacted. 2 judges are coming. They will be here June 22nd through June 25th, and we will give them a whirlwind 2 days of visits to some of the things we'd like them to see, most of which are mentioned in the profile.
And Vice Mayor Gorton, you mentioned a minute ago, one of the great things about participating in American Bloom is having people from the outside come to Lexington with an eye, with their background, their expertise. But really, I think one of the exciting things that you mentioned is moving forward. What can we do
Yes.
better?
Yes. Well, and they will make some recommendations as to areas where they think we have room for improvement. And of course, we have lots of room for improvement always. It took me all my life to figure out not to let the perfect get in the way of the good, which you mentioned earlier. And we want Lexington not to be perfect. Will not be perfect, but we want it to be good. It already is good, and so we're going to get to the better. They'll help us get there because they'll make recommendations for us. For example, they might make some recommendations about our tree canopy. And they've been to cities all over the United States. They know what cities are doing. They know what works and what is beautiful. So they have all this experience that Ann mentioned, and they can help us become an even better place.
And moving forward, there's going to need to be some more folks from the community involved with this project.
Exactly. We've had a small group, a group of about 40 people that have been writing the profile and getting us to this point. We've been taking it one step at a time. First the profile, now the judges visit. But once we get the judges report, which will be in late September at the annual conference of American Bloom, which will be in Philadelphia, then we'll have some recommendations, and we will want to begin another phase of study and recommendations on projects and on basic funding. Right now, for example, we're putting the judges up in homes and paying for their meals out of our pocket while American Bloom gets them here. So, and they are volunteer judges themselves. But going forward, we'll want to be able to provide a reliable lodging and some community events, and particularly projects that help build on what we have already and provide a little funding for people. And for that, we're going to need various forms of support. We're going to need more citizens. We would like to have more businesses involved, especially if we develop projects that might target certain areas of town.
And because it's not a government project per se, we are going to need support from our corporate partners, business partners. We'll be looking for all kinds of support. We'll be looking for financial support on projects going forward, and we'll be looking for volunteer support on projects going forward. It's really the best kind of thing for people to sink their teeth into, because we think that the recommendations will include more than one way forward.
So a lot of exciting things
Yes.
going on with American Bloom as it becomes part of Lexington's fabric and culture here moving
That's what we're
forward.
hoping.
So we invite the viewers at home to stay tuned as we present more information about American Bloom, and we'll have information on the website. We'll make that information available to you. We'll be back with more of A Greener Bluegrass after this.